My name is Ashi, but you can call me Ace like Bobby D, Guinea Q like Magic Mike with something up his sleeve. It's going to be new for a lot of people. That's okay. But the reason I'm making this video today is this is like part of my shadow work, which my last video was about. And there's a couple different reasons. Like, one is I was praying for clarity on this matter, and two is to like speak my version of what transpired during a really trying time in my life and caused me to lose two people that were really close to me, two people that I cared very dearly for, two people that I considered best friends, and at the very least, I figure, even if I don't get either one of these people back in my life ever, I figure that this experience can maybe help somebody else at some point, so that's the idea, and so basically what I did is I wrote a letter, started a letter, and I'm on like page 11, and I decided I'm just going to spit the rest of it from the top of my head, because honestly it took me like 3 or 4 days on and off writing this thing, and it was really painful, and it stirred up a lot of emotions. It was under the Hunter moon. I'm under the sign of Aries. If you're into astrology and stuff like that, you understand that like that shit's really heavy for somebody born under Aries. And so it was inspired because there was like, I don't know, about 7 or 8 triggers in the span of a week that made me think about this ex. And I'm going to be speaking in general terms because I don't want to put their names out there. Some people will figure out who it is, and that's just what it's going to be. But, I'm not trying to like demonize this person or create some sort of like victim mentality for myself either, because it's not like that. It's like, this is what I experienced, and I feel as though, if the roles were reversed and it was me that loved somebody else like as much as they said they did, and they came to me and said, yo, like, this is what I saw, what's up? Instead of getting reactive and defensive, which is what people do when they're fucking lying, I know that I would do everything in my power to try to help that person understand what transpired. If I really loved them, I would want them to understand. I couldn't leave it like this. And I'm talking about for all parties, So anyways, here it is. Because after this, without any kind of answers or clarification, like I poured too much energy into this situation, and I'm leaving it at that. Like it's just done. And that's sad to me. But if that's what it is, then that's what it is. So it's like, this is the letter, I'm going to call the girl, we'll call her Claire. All right. We'll call her Claire, and we'll call this other guy, I guess we'll call him John. Right. So Claire, it's funny how the universe is set up, how healing events are triggered all around us when the time is right for us to move past certain events. In the last week, you texted, my mother was wearing your sweatshirt, then brought you up. Krista brought you up twice. Trying to think here. Your stuff was all scattered around Chris and Donna's when I was over there, and you came up and Convo was there as well too. I thought I forgave you and moved past this, but God knows better. But the time is upon us, it would seem. So when I look back on the magical time we spent together and how it forever changed me as a person, I could only be grateful for it. But to truly embrace the power it bestowed upon me, I need to express some shit so I can fully integrate this part of myself back into myself. That's what healing is about. Recalling these fractionalized parts of our soul. So first things first. I'm sorry that I was such a mess and unable to be the best version of myself for you. I was carrying a lot of baggage from a very troubled childhood, or just life in general, and I didn't know how to have a healthy relationship. I was clingy, insecure, overreactive, and at times unappreciative for the things that you were doing for me. I'm very sorry for the experience out in the woods. The combination of a drug-fueled mind, being overworked, your words the previous day, I want you to leave my house, the house that we got together and we're building together, left me feeling like the rug had been pulled out from underneath me. I finally got the girl I always wanted. My dreams of doing something I loved were coming to fruition, and the idea of coming home the loser that I viewed myself as was simply too much to handle. I genuinely wanted to die that day. Chris, my son Gabriel, and my mother didn't answer when I called to say goodbye. As I sat there with a gun cocked, tears streaming down my face, I desperately wanted to pull the trigger, but something wouldn't allow it. Out of frustration, I popped a shot off in the ground. Regardless of how you actually felt for me, at the time, I imagined that experience was traumatizing, and I just want you to know, and I would do just about anything to heal that for you. But I know that you know that that's not how this works. So that experience, I just want to touch on that real quick. You know, we had been going through some stuff, and it was like a dream life, really. That's what it felt like to me. And, you know, because I come from a really troubled background, and, you know, my life hasn't been easy. Certain people have had it harder, for sure, and certain people have had it easier. Like, it's all our own individual journey, you know what I'm saying? But, like, shit was real when I was younger. I went through a lot of stuff. You know, I was involved heavy in the drug world, and it brought me to a lot of fucked up places, you know. But anyways, so when this life was seemingly being pulled away from me, you know, I went out to the woods to kill myself. You know, I did. And something just stopped me, you know. But Claire had come out, found me in the woods, and, you know, a traumatic scene unfolded. You know, me crying, drug-fueled mind, wanting to die, gun in my hand, and her desperately wanting to save me from that, to not have that happen, because I know she loves me. I knew she loved me, you know, and I know she loves me on some kind of level. And it was just not a pretty scene, you know. So for that, I sincerely apologize. That's a trauma that you didn't have to experience. You didn't have to go through. But when drugs are in the mix, it's just kind of what you get sometimes, at least in my experience, you know. And that's why today I choose to live my life drug-free. I've been there, done that. You know, I'm not trying to live like that. Fuck that, you know. So I'm sincerely sorry for the words that I spoke to you at times, particularly when I came home. You didn't deserve to have your past thrown up in your face. You're better than that, and so am I. Again, with drugs in the mix, this is what you get. I did the best I could to love you, to help you with your business, with your children, with anything that you needed, and it still felt like it wasn't enough. I know now that we both were missing parts of ourselves in our relationship, and it was to reflect back to us the things that we needed to focus upon, to touch on mirrored reality concept. If you're on the healing journey and you don't know what that is, I strongly suggest you Google it, because it will help you figure out the parts of yourself that you need to work on. After about 6 or 12 months, I had a lot of time to process and think about the things that bothered me and why they bothered me. Some of this may be triggering, so please forgive me, but if I were you, I would keep a journal close, because I can almost guarantee you that there's healing to be had in these next couple of pages if you find the courage to face it. When we were in the honeymoon phase, and you were driving back and forth. We were in a long distance relationship, and you were driving back and forth weekly, just about. I was so excited to introduce you to my best friend, John. You know, John had been a really big part of my life. We had just really met like about a year, but we became really fucking close, and he was like a brother to me. We hung out damn near every single day for a year, and I got a lot of love for John. You know, and I still got a lot of love for John, you know, and Claire, and that's what makes this so hard, is like, you know, coming to terms with what the fuck happened, and how do we move past it to build some semblance of a relationship in whatever factor that could be, but also knowing that there might not be a relationship ever again, you know, between any of us, and that's okay too. That's what it has to be. But you know, I come from a place of forgiveness. Like, I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. Like, I'm not like a crazy religious person. I have God in my life. I'm crazy about God for sure, but I'm not a church going guy. You know, I find my God everywhere. Not in church. That's just me. If you find God there, that's great. You know, anything that gets you closer to God, I'm about that shit for sure. Anyways, so I was so excited to introduce you to my friend John, because he had been such a big part of my life, you know, until he walked in my apartment. And when John walked in, Claire's eyes sprung open, jaw dropped, and said something to the effect of, "Wow, aren't you something to look at?" Now, it was a little more intense than that, and it was like, I mean, it was like I wasn't even standing there. You know, she looked at this guy like, wow, like I'd really like, and he's a good looking dude. You know, John's a good looking dude, and like he's younger, and like, you know, like I understand human beings. Actually, I get into it in the next paragraph. Let me keep going, right? So it's like, so now trust me, I get it. John's a good looking kid. But do you have any idea how insecure that made me feel? I already had a low opinion of myself, and based on our experiences when we were younger, and I rattle off about 6 names here that I'm not going to do for anonymity purposes. 6 friends of mine that when we were younger, I had to watch Claire be with, go with, use her, basically. And that hurt a lot, you know? So it was like, how do I go about this? Do you think that maybe I had some justifiable ground to stand on to feel as though I could lose you? You know, as I watched you our whole lives pick people that weren't me, and pick people that just flat out didn't love you like I did. Just didn't. They just didn't. So Claire, we are human. We're going to notice attractive people. It's part of our nature. But to be so blatant and obvious right in front of me in my apartment when we were crazy in love, did you ever think for one moment that what that would do to my self-esteem? The imprint it would leave. Our whole lives I watched guys use you for sex, view you as some object to be used and discarded like trash, while the whole time I viewed you as a treasure. And it seemed like you didn't even give a shit or notice, and then you were just on to the next one. Now, I know today, because I've done a lot of trauma work, and I understand that behavior that is unpalatable is typically coming from a subconscious place based on traumatic experiences that people have unprocessed. People don't actively, unless they're like psychopaths, you know, or sociopaths, you know, not to label people because I don't really fuck with labels, but like, unless they're of that caliber, people don't want to hurt other people. It's just not something that we want to do. It happens subconsciously through shitty behavior. So I see today, after learning about trauma, that this plays into your father issue. You seek love through any way possible because you were never actually shown love. Even from your mother, who was always too busy working or dating, and who herself was blocked off from her emotions. So to you, money and sex has always been a way to express love, but they can't take the place of actual love. The soul knows the difference. Money and love are not equal, not by far. I had to take a 24-hour break because the subject matter was just too heavy. I wanted to get high to avoid what I was feeling, but managed to sit with it and process it. So we're back to it. Hashtag still sober. Hashtag blessed. That's new territory for me. You know, for me to process some really heavy shit that meant the world to me, and not use a drug over it, not even cannabis. You know, I don't really view cannabis like the other drugs, but I don't like what it does to my mind at times. So, you know, for right now, caffeine and nicotine is more than enough, and I'm working on getting that out of my life too. So, anyways, so there were other triggers and indicators that would come up surrounding John when I came home. When I came home, I know my intention was to heal and to stay true to you because you were everything I always wanted. You were everything I always wanted. And when the twin flame concept was drawn into my experience, it just made so much sense to me. I was always coming back, and I was waiting for you. And I was under the impression you wanted to do the same thing. I remember you texting me one day. Your standard Claire opening message was always, hey, with or without a purple heart emoji. But one day within the midst of the madness, you opened with a hey-yo, H-E-Y, yo, O, which struck me as odd. Hundreds of opening messages that we had back and forth. And you never broke form from that. That was your, I don't know what the proper terminology for it is, like the way people talk, speak, or text. It's just like I don't know if it's dialect or like whatever, but like we have our patterns of how we communicate. And they, you know, human beings are creatures of habit. They're pretty consistent, you know? So when they alter or change, it's only natural to wonder like, why? You know? So hundreds of opening messages, never broke form, always hey. What was concerning was this was exactly how John would open his messages, drawn out extra letters. This was his standard. And I know this because we communicated tons. So, and now the woman I love and had a fear was going to sleep with my best friend is now texting me the same as he would. So it's like, you know, was that just a trigger inspired by the divine? You know, or was that like a divinely inspired slip to cue me in to be like, yo, bro, like you're being done dirty, you know? Who really knows? Besides these two people, you know? So there was another incident where you misspelled a word using a type of Ebonic style that you never used before. Understand, Claire, I don't really fuck with white. There is no such thing as white. White and black don't exist. Like, I'm Italian Irish. I'm not going to say what they are, whatever, but like, white is not real. It's just not. Okay? But for this purpose of this, she's white. All right? So, but there was another incident where you had misspelled a word using a type of Ebonic style that you would never use before. I know this because I went back through our messages and checked the last 15 times you texted this word. Each time, proper English spelling. No Ebonics. All right? Now, the third circumstance of this type of behavior was when you came to see me. You were laughing about my attempt to vanquish the Jezebel spirit that undoubtedly had a hold of you at the time. When we were laughing, you said, and please excuse me, but she said to me, this nigga, right? Caucasian woman saying this, I'm not going to say it again, with the same exact style that John would use. I know this because I was hanging out with him for a long time, and I would do the same thing. It sounded cool, funny. He was open to it. We were boys. It was just like a thing, you know. It wasn't a big deal. You know, it was always done with as like a term of endearment, or it meant to overemphasize something, or you know what I'm saying? So it was like, it's what it was. So now the spiritual connection of these events was priceless, because as this is happening, I was guided to learn about empaths. All right, I come to find out that that's like what I am, and that's what we are. And now everybody's capable of empathy, but certain people have a higher proclivity to it, where they can actually feel the emotions of others. It's just like a thing. So as I'm studying about empaths, this shit's going on. And what I learned about empaths is that they take on traits and characteristics of people that they're around. It's like an energy thing, right? And now when I look back at my whole life, I couldn't help but connect the dots and be like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because when I'm around group A of people, my personality starts changing. I start talking like them, thinking like them, like it was just a weird thing, And that might, maybe that's just a human being thing. Maybe it's not just an empath thing. I don't really know. I'm trying to make sense of this shit, So, but I noticed it because I saw that in my own behavior. When I would hang out with John, I would speak in more Ebonics, and I would, what I mean? It would just be a thing, right? So, in the midst of this, when I shared this with you, you attempted to make me think I was crazy, all right? Which is a narcissistic tactic done subconsciously for most. It's known as gaslighting, okay? Now, I studied narcissism because, I was guided to. It popped into my existence, okay? And it popped into my existence for probably a number of reasons. One being, I was a narcissist, like full blown, Like I didn't care about anybody but myself. And like even when I did shit for you, it was because it was for me. It wasn't really for you. And when I was younger, I think only maybe two girls in my life. This girl and then my recent ex, Krista. Maybe one more, that I was loyal to. I cheated on everybody. And it was like because I was fucking broken and I was sick and I needed validation sexually from other people. I needed to know that I was desirable and that if somebody wanted me, then I guess I'm still good. But really inside I'm a fucking broken mess. You know what I'm saying? So when I brought that up to you, you basically just gaslighted me and basically said oh, you're crazy. That's not it's nothing. And okay, maybe it is nothing, but is it? So I'm going to keep going because it's a lot more. It's certainly not just the text message shit. There's, if it was just that, I could chalk it up and be all right, yeah, you're crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it's not just that. It's a lot more. And all I'm trying to do is fucking understand the shit. That's it. And after I said, I'm done, I'm fucking walking away. Because I just can't put any more energy into this. This is my way of processing this and healing this without having the clarification that I desire. So gaslighting creates a sense of confusion in the other person, as it makes them question their own reality. All right? It's a form of abuse, narcissistic abuse. The poetic and karmic lessons for me was I finally got to see what I put Ashley, that's my kid's mother. I owe her so much. I can't begin to put it into words. What I put that girl through. She fell in love with me when I fell in love with heroin. I was a full-blown narcissist, and I hurt her bad. And and then a couple years back when I was still fast asleep, I couldn't understand why she wouldn't want to co-parent with me. Well, what the fuck you think, bro? You fucking tortured this poor girl. You destroyed her. Not destroyed her. I'm sure God is working with her, rebuilding her the same as he's doing with me, the same as he's doing with everybody. It's what he does. So I finally got to see what I put Ashley through. And Mary Grace. I did the same kind of thing to Mary Grace, who was the greatest love of my life. And now I fully understand why she has such disdain for me. So sincerely, I thank you. I want to thank you, and I thank God for this experience because it gave me the perspective to see why she won't fuck with me. No, and why she doesn't believe that I'm changed. I don't blame her. I don't fucking blame her. If I was her, I'd feel the same way. And I just pray for our son that, I don't know, she sees something at some point and realizes that I'm just not the same guy that I was. I'm just not. But I certainly understand the justifiable mirage from her perspective. That's foreshadowing to it. You'll see. It was also informative when you had to pay my friend $50 to come make sure I was still alive. Some friend, right, John? You know, like, I had relapsed on some heavy narcotics, and it was like a 9-day meth binge that ended with the culmination of me shooting heroin for the first time, second time in 5 years. Okay? And I fell lifeless into the arms of a stranger. I had handed him 2 cans of Narcan. I knew I was going to go down. Before I did it, I knew. I gave him the Narcan and said, bro, you got me. And this stranger said, yeah, man, I got you. I said, all right. Rest assured, he needed both cans to bring me back to life. So, with that, but those were my decisions. You know, I made that conscious decision to put that first drug back in me. I was going through a lot of pain, a process, and losing the love of my life to a fucking friend that I care so much about, bro. Like a brother. I looked at him like a little brother. You know what I mean? Like I cared a lot about him. And so one of the final pieces that tied this together for me was a conversation that I had with John, a person I had shown so much love for and built what felt like an awesome friendship with. About 2 months ago, I sent him a video, and in this video, I said, I'm paraphrasing now, John, I really miss you in my life, bro. I'm not exactly sure what transpired, and honestly, at this point, I don't even care. I would just like my friend back. You know? And I had sent him multiple messages like this, and for one reason or another, he would not take me up on this offer. Guilt and shame can be intense when you do somebody dirty who showed you so much love. Now, like, I was acting crazy last year, and I could certainly understand why somebody would not want to disclose this information to me. Because the younger version of myself, like I said, full-blown narcissist, didn't really care about you, went through a lot of trauma, hurt people. You know, it wasn't like, in that kind of mindset, it really wouldn't be nothing for me to go over to John's and drag him out of his house and break his jaw in front of his grandparents. That would have been a standard thing for me to do years back. You know, but I've learned that violence is just not okay, ever. Just ever. You know, if somebody's trying to hurt you or kill you or your family or an innocent person, yeah, I'm going to ride for sure. But like, other than that, in those extreme circumstances, rare and extreme circumstances, it is just not okay. It's just not. You know, I'm on some turn the other cheek shit. Like I said, Jesus is my role model. You know, he's my role model. You know, I try to embody him as much as I possibly can. You know, because my life has been better by doing that. Pretty plain and simple. Okay, and I'm no fucking saint. Don't get it like that. But I do my best, and I truly do my best. So I went on to say, bro, I love Claire so much, and I'm beyond willing to forgive her and accept anything that might have occurred. I'm going to ask her to marry me. And if you and I never speak again, I'm asking you for one last favor. If there's anything I should know for any reason or why I shouldn't express my undying love for this woman, please, bro, let me know. I'm no longer mad or even sad, but I don't want to make any further mistakes. Can you please help me? Now, John, I'd sent him a couple of messages over the course of a couple of months, you know, and like, he wouldn't really engage me. You know, he wouldn't engage me. And, you know, I'm wondering, like, why? Like, if you didn't do anything, then you should have nothing to hide. You know what I'm saying? And if you cared about me like you said you cared about me, then you should want to clear this shit up. You know what I'm saying? Like, no victim mentality, but in this situation, if you were looking at it from like a 3D perspective, I sound like the victim. And the victim is trying to clear it up with the people to be like, yo, did this, like, what the fuck is up? You know, what happened? Did anything happen? Can you explain to me why these things happened? Like, you know, can we try to move past this shit? You know, I forgave a kid who was a best friend of mine who ended up sleeping with my kid's mother. Okay? And my kid's mother threw it in my face when I was like towards the tail end of my heroin run in 2015, 2016. and rightfully so on her part. You know, because I had engaged in some infidelity when we were together, and it ended up getting thrown in her face, and it hurt, and that's my karmic rebound. It's part of my karma. You know what I'm saying? This whole situation is part of my karma. You know? So I do my best today to make sure that my actions are in accordance with how God would want me to live my life. Because, and I mentioned this in the last video, Lil Wayne said, you know, what goes around comes around like a hula hoop. Karma is a bitch, just make sure that bitch is beautiful. And that is some real shit. So if you're watching this video, you made it this far, bro, watch how you treat people, what you do, how you talk to them, how you treat your partner. All that stuff comes back, bro. It all comes back. So if you don't want to do it just to be nice, do it to save your ass. Do it to save yourself. You should want to do it to be nice. But if you're not there yet, then do it for self-preservation. You know? So, anyways, so I said to him, can you please help me? I'm thinking about asking this girl to marry me, but I still have no clarity on the situation. So, like, I don't want to be a jackass here and go into a relationship with somebody who can't remain loyal or whatever the case was, you know? And John, I believe, not wanting to incriminate himself out of fear, but also in a moral dilemma now, didn't want to lie to me because I had shown him a lot of genuine love. And the only response that he could muster to this question was, bro, it's probably best you just focus on you. On the surface, it doesn't say much, but it also says everything I needed to know. Okay? He knows how I felt about you. He knows how happy you made me. But his conscience wouldn't allow him to feed me his conscience wouldn't allow me to feed me to destruction, to the sharks. You know, if that's where you were at. Nor would it allow him to lie to me, because he didn't want to lie to me. If you notice in his response, bro, it's probably best you just focus on yourself. That's all he said. He didn't want to lie because morally he felt a certain way. At least that's how it feels, you know? So he elected to take the passive route and be as honest as he could without throwing himself or you under the bus. I'm grateful to him for his attempt at being honest. Truly, I am, John. Seriously, thank you for that. And when the day comes and he's not 100% honest with me, know that I'll embrace him and forgive him, because that's what God would want me to do. And that's how I live my life today, you know, because it's like this, like, old me did some fuck shit to people like this before, and if I would ever hope to be forgiven for any of those indiscretions when I was all drugged out and a fucking lunatic and didn't care about people and didn't care about the sanctity of relationships and monogamy and all this shit, these morals and these like, this is like the foundation of who I am today. I can't imagine ever cheating on somebody today. I just can't. I can't even imagine, you know, that I like today, like I have the thing, it's called like energetic infidelity, I call it, which is like a concept that I coined because I watched it happen in my own life, where I'm with somebody, but I'm thinking about somebody else. It does something to the energy. It does. Because our thoughts energize our reality. All right. And so when you're putting emotional energy into somebody else, it changes the connection between the two original components, the original relationship. This is a concept of mine, a theory of mine, but I'm pretty sure it's accurate. I don't know, because I'm like a student of the universe. I'm trying to figure this shit out as I go. You know what I'm saying? So When the day comes and he's 100% honest with me and helps me get clarification, I know that I'll embrace him and forgive him because that's what God would want me to do. This doesn't mean that he will take up his old position as one of my best friends, but at least it would crack the door for the possibility to rebuild a friendship that meant a lot to both of us. I know it meant a lot to both of us. You know, I had to lose 2 best friends over this situation. Okay? And you know, it's like, I have to just point out, like, I don't really scan people's profiles that often on social media. Like, I usually just post my own shit and really deal with my own comments and stuff, and I don't scroll, and I don't, like, if you send me a friend request, I might check out, like, your last 3 posts or something like that. But really, I don't spend a lot of time on social media at all today. And so, like, for me to go to somebody's page and scroll back, like, it's very rare. Very rare. And I did this the other day with John's page, you know, because, like, I miss my fucking friend. I miss my friend, and I'm curious of how he's doing and what's going on in his life because I genuinely give a fuck about him. No matter what happened. No matter what happened, I care about him because I've been taught about unconditional love and what that is. Okay? Society has painted this picture of love for us that it's got us all fucked up in the game. You know, when you start to understand how people behave out of subconscious behavior and trauma and stuff, like Jesus, like, forgive them, they know not what they do kind of shit, like, I feel like it's pretty fucking relevant. It doesn't mean everybody just gets a free pass to just run around and do some fuck shit to everybody, but it helps you understand why the fuck they did it. And when you can understand why they did it, it opens the door for forgiveness. And that's just the person I'm trying to be today. You know, it's just the person I'm trying to be today. Not trying to be, that's the fucking person I am today. That's the person I am today. God has a way of removing people out of your life when they are stifling your growth. It's part of the soul expansion. Thank you. You said to me about 6 weeks ago, this is Claire, I have no reason to not tell you today. At this point, I would be honest. Let me tell you why you wouldn't be honest. Okay? Because I remember you said that shit, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, Claire. I want to believe you. Really, I really want to believe you. Number one reason that you wouldn't tell me. Fear of my reaction. Okay? The old me would not handle this well. And you know the old me. I would have definitely dragged John out of his house and at least broke his jaw. Or threw him a beating. You know, the younger me was that was me. That was me. That's what I lived. That's how I was raised. You know, that's just the environment I was raised in. You know, I'm proud to say that, like, I swore off violence about 6 years ago. And, you know, I had one instance with my friend Brian where we got into an argument about something. It got heated and I chased him around the apartment and chased him out the front Main Street, running around like a fucking, I don't know, like an old Looney Tunes cartoon or some shit. It was ridiculous. You know, he did fall on the bottom of the stairs, and I had him dead to rights, and I could have pummeled him. And I opened the door and let him get up. Because today, that's just not who I am. Like, I have no desire to hurt people ever. I want to help people. I wanted to do the exact opposite of what I thought I wanted to do. You know? This is the soul evolution. This is the Christ consciousness. Anyways. So, to behave in that way, that would be too much guilt for you, Claire, to carry, as I'm sure you connected with John, and the last thing you would want to do would be to see him hurt, you know? So, the second reason, as far as you're concerned, you would fear me going to social media and showing the world parts of your shadow that would go against the public perception you have built over the years. It could impact your life in ways, and you just wouldn't want to see that. So to say that you have nothing to hide at this point isn't completely accurate. There are things that could affect things in your life, and I don't think that you would want that. But this is the most important one, the third one. The most important factor of why you would not admit that The most important factor would be that you would have to admit that you were wrong. You struggle with this deeply. Do you remember when you took a screenshot in the car and your phone was plugged in and the display on your car was giving you two screenshots? It was showing you your phone and your display in the car. And you said, why is this doing this? I only want to take a screenshot of my phone. I said, well, Claire, because it's plugged in and it's going to give you both. No, I've done that before. That's not true. Claire, you did it again, complained again. I said, Claire, it's because your phone's plugged in. You did it again. You proceeded to do this 7 times. 7 times before you would admit that you didn't know and that you were wrong and that I was right. You just struggle with that. I don't know what that is. I'm sure it's a trauma thing. That pretty much almost everything is that refers to our defects. I believe it's a theory of mine. But you would have to admit that you were wrong. And you just don't do well with that. So that's the 3 reasons why I believe you wouldn't tell me. If you were to admit that you had lied, this would open up the floodgates for all sorts of other things, all sorts of other lies that you had told. Right? Like, for instance, the third-party messaging app that cheaters use. It's called Wickr, Wickr. Now, early on in our relationship, I was very insecure, and I would hawk her phone, and I would go through her phone because I was expecting that she would fucking do something. And, and for that, I probably helped create the cooperative components for this to happen through my manifestations. And for that, I take responsibility for that part, but I was unhealed, I was unaware and unconscious, and I didn't know. But I understand that I played a role in this. My insecure, clingy behavior played a role in this shit. It did. Plus, that's unattractive. Who the fuck wants to deal with that? So I had opened this app on Claire's phone about 6 times through the first couple months of our relationship. It was never signed in. I was always curious what it was. Never really looked too far into it, and I never did the recover password thing, which I probably could have did with the email. But God stopped me from doing that. And I believe there's a reason for that. Because at the time, I don't believe I was ready to see that shit. At the time, I was in such an unhealed state that my reaction could have been terrible. So, another lie, or situation, whatever you want to call it, would be Claire was scheduled to be a guest on a podcast. Now, the podcast had to do with a mutual business interest of ours, okay? We were in business, and we were expanding that business into a certain area. The theme of the podcast was about this area that we were expanding into that I was going to be in charge of, So it really fit into what we were doing as a team. Now, when I had asked Claire if I could tag along, first of all, I don't even know why I had to ask. If you're with a partner, especially if you're working on the same mission and on the same shit, and there's something that could be educational, a cool experience, why wouldn't you want your partner there? It doesn't make any sense. And when I asked her, she got overreactive, and she got well, that's ridiculous. Why would you come? That would be weird. That would be weird. And I'm thinking it would be weird if I wasn't there. I don't understand, And so it would be weird if let's say Claire was an actress and let's say I was a fucking psychology major or some shit. I could see in that circumstance how it would be a little out of place. There would be no constructive relevance for me to be there other than to support the person I love, which is usually enough. But in this particular circumstance, she started a fight with me and got very defensive. And when I asked her to even ask the guy whose podcast it was, she was like, I'm not doing that. I'm fucking blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I didn't know what to do. Baby girl's paying all the bills. You know what I mean? She's the breadwinner at the time. And I didn't have much ground to stand on. I was just the hired muscle. and the operation, really. And I busted my motherfucking ass, too, by the way. And I think I did a pretty good fucking job considering where I was at, where we were at with drugs and stuff. And so whatever. So here's the kicker. Here's the kicker about this situation. She gets dolled up, goes to the fucking podcast. About a week or two later, I ask her, hey, yo, I want to listen to that podcast. Like, what's up? I want to see what you guys talked about. She tells me that the guy never hit the record button. Right? So he never hit the record button, and it never recorded the podcast. Okay. Right? Okay. So, like, I make videos and shit, you know. I don't have a podcast, but, like, I damn well know if my phone is recording. Like, I can see it right now. 45, 46. Like, it's such an absurd fucking lie that it's like, I think more so than anything, like, I think, like, yeah, my heart was broken. Yeah, this thing's happened. But, like, I think I'm more upset that someone would insult my fucking intelligence so much to say that, like, yo, like, didn't hit the record button. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Who do you think you're talking to, girl? I wrote the book on this shit. Not to mention the time I spent at poker tables. I made my living for many years playing poker. I studied people lying. Like, it's just absurd. It's what it is. So, I'm not even done with that situation. Right? So, the last part of it is, I discovered that her ex, Claire's ex-partner, was a guest on this podcast at one point. And so I went to the page and I looked at the format of the podcast because I was curious, you know. And it was a very unpopular podcast. Maybe it's just getting off the ground. I hope that the dude does well, regardless of what happened. He doesn't fucking know me, you know? And so I genuinely want everybody to do good. Like, even the people that do me dirty, like, I do. I want everybody to do good. I don't know, some hashtag Jesus shit. I don't know. So it's like, I went and saw that when her ex was on the podcast, he did his via Zoom. This was 95% of the guests on this podcast were done via Zoom. So it's like, why was hers done in person? And how did he not hit the record button? Coincidental? I don't know, maybe, but I don't really believe in coincidence. I just don't, you know? So, all right, that's all I have written on this situation. But there's more. There is more, and we're going to shoot from the hip here. All right, so there was a situation where I'm in her phone, hawking her shit, which is inappropriate. If you're in a relationship and you have to be in your partner's phone, like, we're taking the show on the road because I gotta pee. If you're in a situation and you're in a relationship and you have to be going through somebody's phone to see if they're doing you dirty or not, bro, chances are you're not supposed to be in that relationship. Or chances are you're not ready to be in a relationship. Maybe you are supposed to be in that relationship, but you're just not prepared emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever the case may be. Pardon me, I'm sorry about this. But, like, I didn't know this at the time. You know, I was unaware of healing. Like, not that I was unaware of healing, but, like, the journey of healing oneself and the journey to enlightenment and soul ascension. Like, I had no idea about any of this shit. You know, I was a novice. This is part of my learning experience, part of my learning curve. You know? So I'm in her phone, and I find an Instagram conversation with this African-American artist. And he makes music and shit. And, you know, seems like a cool dude. And like, I scroll back far enough because that's how sick I was. I go back far because I want to see, like, well, how did they start talking, you know? And there was some flirtation and some like sexual stuff that had been thrown around. And it was obvious that the origin of this relationship was based on one of a sexual or romantic nature. Okay? Whether they ever went together or not remains to be seen. She said they did not. I like to believe her, you know? And she had been communicating with this man, right? And talking about personal shit with her kids and stuff, you know? And like friends, like I get it, you know what I mean? Like there could be friendships between men and women. That's a common thing. I have a lot of friends that are girls, you know? And like we communicate about shit like that all the time, you know what I mean? But what was troubling was that, you know, in the home, she was not really communicative with me. I mean, the type of shit where you would I would literally walk into or she would walk into the room on her cell phone like this, and I'd say, "Yo, Claire, what do you want to do for dinner? Maybe you want to go for ice cream? Like, what's up, girl?" And she wouldn't even look up or acknowledge my presence. So it's like to be like, okay, so you're engaging in conversations with strangers that are strangers to me, but the man that you're in love with can't get a fucking response out of you. Like, it's insane and insulting and painful. And so part of this, though, that I realize now because of the healing journey thing is that I had an experience when I was in 4th grade. All right. I had been sexually abused as a child. All right. From like a 18-year-old mentally challenged kid. Right. I didn't know he was mentally challenged. Makes sense now why a senior in high school is hanging out with a fucking kindergartner through 3rd grade. It makes sense now, you know, but I didn't know this then. And when I had expressed this, I was sent off to this home when I was 9 years old. I was taken away from everybody that I cared and loved about and sent to this home for an evaluation because it was in the midst of custody battle, this, that, and the other. While I was staying with my father, because I didn't want to be with my mother anymore. She had relapsed. She was going through some shit, and I felt unsafe, you know. But my stepmother had planted some seeds that I realized today came up for healing throughout this whole experience. And she had said to me, "Oh, I heard your mother was down in West Scranton, fucking N-word, hard R, no soft A, for drugs." Now, when you tell a child something like that about their mother, that's going to leave an imprint, right? Because now you painted a negative connotation on black people in interracial relationships. I was raised Italian, so older Italians have a tendency to be kind of racist against anybody who's not Italian. It's not just against blacks, it's against anybody who's not Italian, all right? And I think this is probably within a lot of cultures. I don't think it's just Italian thing. But either way, that seed had been planted. Now, I have not been a racist man, okay? I was raised basically racist through no fault of my own, but then came to the conclusion at some point in my like middle school, early like high school years that like, I don't give a fuck if you're black, purple, green, fucking yellow. Like, I don't give a fuck. You're just like me. We bleed red. Like, it's all good, homie. You know what I'm saying? So like, but there was a weird thing is that I wouldn't want my girlfriends to have been with a black guy. So how could I high five my cousin Kirk, shout out Kirky, and, you know, and love this man who's half Italian, half black, African American, like, but be fucked up if like he had slept with a girl that I was trying to go with. You know what I mean? Like, how could I claim that I'm not racist if that's how I feel? Well, it was because of this piece of trauma. It was because of what had been installed in me and the negative connotations that were surrounding that situation. You know, so I believe these triggers came up for me to work and integrate that part of myself to know, like, dude, it don't matter who your girl slept with yesterday, or, well, I guess it does if you're together, but who your girlfriend slept with before you got there. We're human beings. People have sex, like, whatever. Like, it's not a big deal. You know, your past is not your now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, and when I confronted her about this relationship and this conversation, I can't remember. She was pretty dismissive. That would be like her go-to, like dismissive or aggression, like anger, that I would even ask these questions, you know? And it's like, so then there was a situation where she had come in, and I imagine at some point somebody in this video, if you made it this far, bro, like, number one, thank you. Number two, like, I imagine some people have to be like, bro, Ace, what the fuck? Bail, bro, bail on this girl, right? But I've been going through this like spiritual awakening thing and this journey, and shit has been kind of real. So it's like, I just want some clarity. These people meant a lot to me, and they mean a lot to me, and I honestly want them in my fucking life and on some kind of level, But I also don't want to be a fucking jerk off. And not a jerk off. I don't like to speak negatively about myself like that, but I also don't want to be a fool and play for a jackass. You know what I'm saying? Like. So she came in to visit the one time, right? After I had left there, and like she shows up, and I needed to use her car because I'm like a fucking 36-year-old juvenile delinquent, and it was like I got in the whip, and I went to get smokes or something. I don't remember, or get a coffee or some shit. I don't know. And I found a key. Matter of fact, I still have the fucking key. I'll show you the key. All right. Still have the shit. Because honestly, I thought it was John's. And that's why I kept it, right? Because I wanted to see. I rolled past John's house a couple times, clicked it to see if it did something to the car. It didn't. All right. This is the key. I believe it obviously belongs to a Nissan, but the symbol is taken out of the top of it. I found this key in Claire's car. Now remember, we're in a long distance relationship. All right. We're going back again, on again, off again. We're trying to do some shit. She's claiming she's not being with anybody, and I hadn't been with anybody. It took me, I don't know, 7 months or so. Or like 7 months in total since from when I had left, but then like we had like an official breakup point, and from that point it took me like 3 or 4 months to go with somebody else, which was very new for me because I typically, like, as soon as I break up with somebody, or they would always break up with me, the old me, because I just couldn't speak my truth, and I couldn't not have somebody because I wasn't okay with being me. I always needed to have people around. I always needed that. That's a trauma thing too, right? But anyways, she had said that this is the way that it was, right? But yet she's getting emails from eHarmony. She's getting emails from dating sites and shit, right? There's guys popping up in her experience. Friends of mine are telling me she's talking to dudes and stuff, but she doesn't want to tell me this, But anyways, I find the key. I come back up to the crib, and I'm like, yo, I found this key in your car. Like, whose key is this? And she proceeds to be dismissive about it. And because she makes it out to be that I could have found the key in my apartment. I had people staying in my apartment when I was gone. Some friends were in a spot and they needed a place to stay, and I wasn't here. So I don't know, like mi casa su casa. Like if you're my family, my friends, my true friends, I fucking ride for you, like I do. And like what I have, you have. Like that's just the way that I'm built, and probably to a fault. Because some of them motherfuckers robbed me and did me dirty too. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you live and you learn, and then you get hugs. At least that's how the commercial goes. And when I asked her about this fucking key, she told me, well, I wouldn't think too far into it. I wouldn't overthink it. Is almost verbatim what she said. I remember being like, yo, like, okay, Claire, you're right. I shouldn't overthink it. You're right. So I let it go as much as I could, and I left it up in the cabinet there. I'm still curious who it belongs to, because somebody's day got really fucked up. You know what I mean? Somebody was like, fuck, I left my key in Claire's car. Fuck, her ex-man found it, and now I gotta fucking pay $200 for a new fucking key fob or whatever the fuck happened. But somebody's day got a little fucked up. which is funny because it's like, when you're flowing against the universe, I'll throw in some like knowledge here, is like when you're flowing against your life path and your universal calling, or you're doing people dirty or whatever the case may be, bad things just happen to you. You have you forget everything. You drop everything. You're like spiritually out of alignment. You know what I mean? You can't remember where you put this. You can't remember where you put that. When you're in sync with the universe and you're in sync with God, things just flow easier. The analogy that I use is like if you get in an inner tube and float down a river, you just flow. But if you get out of that inner tube and you try swimming backwards up like a rapid class 1 or class 2 or some shit, you can be pretty fucking exhausted. All right? Because this world is designed to be easy for you. Not easy because there's experiences and trials and tribulations and shit, but they're all part of growth and lessons and learning. But like I believe that when you're along your healing journey and you grab a hold of what your true calling is, what your soul was designed to do, things just become easier. They flow easier, so lessons over. But so that was the key experience. There's some other shit, but honestly, this video is already an hour long, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's like there actually is one or two more things I would really like to talk about. But because they would potentially draw other people into the equation that I don't want to draw in because they don't deserve it, I'm just going to leave it be, But it's like, this situation, like, as grateful as I am for it today because it's led me to, like, freedom, it's led me to just being okay with myself. And it's led me to an understanding of like who the fuck I actually am, what my purpose is, who my true friends are. And it's helped me learn how to find peace, and it led me to meditation and yoga and just like healthy eating. That's what Claire did for me. She taught me about all that shit. Changed my fucking life. Snapped my kundalini shit open and went fucking berserk because I was using drugs when the shit happened. So I highly don't suggest you do that shit if you could avoid it. But like that was my experience. That's how my shit sparked. And I'm grateful for that because it's changed my life. Am I exactly where I want to be? No, but I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. God knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. And I just do my best to make the best decisions I can to aid and not deter the blessings that I know are coming. I know the blessings are coming. I've worked on myself extensively. I have changed the person that I am to be more empathetic and caring and loving to all that I encounter, not just people I know, and I'm not trying to like suck my own dick here, but what I am trying to do is be an example to people, of like, in a way, like how you should live your life. And I don't want to tell people how to live their life. They all have free will. It's not like it's just when you live like that, things become easier. Situations that used to seem insurmountable, you're like Superman, it's like a leap and a bound. And like, I don't know. So, that's it. One last thing for John. When I forgot, I don't think I touched on this. I started to, but when I went on John's page last week and I watched and I saw the context of his posts over the course of the last couple of months, I couldn't help but notice a trend. He's crying through his posts, basically. He's lonely. He doesn't have many friends. Where are my friends at? Where are the people at? Like, what's up? And like, it was sad, really. Like, not like, I'm not pitying him or you, But it was sad to me because you had a fucking friend. And really, on some kind of level, you still have a friend. But, like, it's like, you know, you had somebody who at the time was down to ride for you, bro. Like, you know, like, even when my cousin was, like, against you, you know, like, my cousin, you know what I'm saying? Like, I defended you to him. And because I saw the good in you, even though you could be involved in some fuck shit sometimes, you know, and I'm not even talking this, I'm talking bullshit, street shit, but I know it's all for your addiction and stuff, and I get that, you know what I mean? But, like, you reap what you sow, John, you know? And it's like, God sent you a friend, a good friend. I'm a good fucking friend to my friends, for sure. Ask them. You don't have to take my word for it. You know, watch how I move. Forget about my words that I speak. Watch my feet. Especially in the future. You watch my feet and see how I bless the GMR family. You watch me bless the GMR family. And everybody. My community. The fucking world, bro. Told you GMR was going to take over the world. Didn't I tell you that? Do you remember we made that? So, like, when God sends you a blessing, you know, you could choose to not accept it, and, like, that's okay. I don't think there's consequences for that. Although he would like to see you accept the blessings, for sure. You know, but when you shit on that blessing, homie, whew, you got to pay for that. And by pay, I mean karma, bro. Like, I want to lift my pinky, homie. You know, like you said, like you used to say, I ain't wrestling around getting all sweaty for this dude, for this guinea. You know? Not this guy, bro. Not today. Fuck no, man. I'm about that peace and love, bro. I love everybody, even the people that don't love me. Even the people who think they hate me. I love them even more because I know that they're just out of sync with themselves. And I'm reflecting back to them a version of themselves that they would like to be. A version that they desire on a soul level. But their self-limiting beliefs, their subconscious trauma, has kept them from the best version of themselves. And when you see a dude shining, it hurts the eyes sometimes. You know? It's a metaphor. And, like, but the good news is, you know, I mean, it's all good news, really, is that salvation can be had for all, you know. And although I pray to Jesus Christ, and although that's how I choose to find my salvation, I believe truly that salvation, that Christianity doesn't have a monopoly on salvation. I can't believe that, like, Hindus who pray to whoever Hindus pray to, I can't remember. They have multiple gods. I'm pretty sure they're monogamous or some shit. I can't remember the phrase. But anyways, but a holy man over in India who's dedicated his life to being good to people, to helping his community and shit, to say, like, oh, you don't pray to Jesus? Oh, I'm sorry, bro. You didn't make the list, homie. You're not on the list now, man. Back on the line. That's bullshit, man. That's bullshit. And, like, God, I believe, is almost any conception that you want him to be. And he'll manifest in your experience as that to you. And that's how he'll show himself to you, because that's the belief that you hold. So, what I'm trying to say is that forgiveness is there for everybody. You know? And however you find it for yourself, know that you deserve it. No matter what you did yesterday, no matter what you did a week ago, 6 months ago, you know, you deserve forgiveness. And I'm speaking to everybody right now. I'm not just singling anybody out, you know. But if it triggers you, you say you name it, you claim it. So if it hits a certain way, maybe you got some work to do, you know. And I've been leaving breadcrumbs. I'm going to continue to do so, because you guys deserve everything that you desire. You deserve to work through your past experiences. You deserve to work through your trauma, your pain, and you deserve to reach great heights, whatever heights you want them to be. You know, not everybody has the same vision of what their dream life is. Some people might be living it now, and I'll tell you what, I tip my hat to you, and I look forward to meeting you there. Now, that would indicate that I'm not happy where I am right now, which isn't true. You know, like, I get frustrated and I get upset sometimes, occasionally, you know, because I'm impatient, Aries, hashtag Aries flow. But, like, I'm learning to be patient, and I'm learning to trust the process. And it's a beautiful fucking process. You know, it really truly is. And so from this whole experience, I guess the last thing I'll say about it is that at least it showed me how to love myself. That's what it did. Because if you don't truly love yourself, you cannot love somebody else. Truly. The right way. The unconditional way. You're just incapable of it. And it's not your fault. And it's not like a downgrade, like, oh, you're talking down to me. No, it's not like that, bro. It's a frequency thing. All right? When you hold a certain frequency, you attract that certain frequency. So you won't be in the most optimal relationship until you really work on yourselves. That's not to say that you can't weather the storm with somebody and get through some shit and love them and feel like you really love them and that it's not real. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying it could be better. You know, and so for me, I'm going to keep climbing because I know today that I deserve true love. I know today that I'm more than just a good fuck. You know, this is one thing Claire said to me when I was bouncing, right? She goes, oh, boy, is my ass gonna miss you, right? And I'd shared that with another girl that I got with after Claire, the only girl I got with after Claire. And she said, wow, she really said that to you? It's fucked up. You know, but that was also triggering for me too. That was part of my healing because for years I thought that the only thing I was really good for, because I didn't have a ton of money, and like I was like hood rich at a bunch of times throughout my life from like hustling and stuff, but not really. You know what I'm saying? It was very, very superficial, fleeting, and not sustainable. And so all I thought I was really good for was, you know, to make you come a couple of times, you know what I mean? And I prided myself on that because that's all I had. So I thought all I had. You know? All I thought was that, oh, Steve Rinaldi's just a good fuck. You know? So I better be damn good at it. So I went out and I put the practice in. You know? But, like, I know today I'm more than that. I know today what my heart is. I know today how I care for people. And I know what my dreams and ambitions are. And I know how I intend to shine them to the world. And how I intend to give away what was so freely given to me. I had to earn that shit. You know? But that's that's the best part. The journey. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the best part, is the journey of earning that shit. So, Claire, John, know that regardless of any kind of anything that may come back from this video, I love you guys. And I forgive you as much as I possibly can without one of you at least telling me, like, all right, bro, you know, yeah, she come at me and this is what happened. Or, yeah, he came at me and this is what happened. And, like, maybe I never get that. Maybe I do. But it's like I told Claire today, text message, I said, listen, do me a favor, I don't want you to ever text me again. Because I can't have engaged in a conversation in a relationship with somebody like where I get like one text message a week and then she don't respond, and then have all this shit triggered and be sitting on that shit, you know, which I know it was brought to the surface for transmutation. It was brought for me to heal. And this has been my way to do that. You know, but I'd rather let sleeping dogs lie if people don't want to at least help me try to understand what the fuck I saw, what the fuck it was, and what the fuck happened. Because it was a fairy tale. Like at one point, the love was a fairy tale. You know? And then it turned into a nightmare. Not a nightmare. Nightmare is an extreme term. But it turned into something that was not pleasurable. You know? So I'm not selling myself short anymore. I'm not settling. I deserve the best. I'm a king and I deserve nothing but a queen. You know? And you can't run a kingdom if somebody wants to run around and fuck the peasants. And that's not a knock on John or anybody who would be outside of that metaphor. And that's not just me, a king. You guys are kings. You're a queen. You're a king. You know, if you're with somebody who doesn't view you like that and doesn't really truly appreciate you, you know, because there was more shit too about the way she was and how she treated me at times and how she didn't really appreciate the things that I did. And the flip side of that, there was things that she did that I probably didn't appreciate to the fullest. It wasn't just a one-way street. There's no victims here. Okay? It's just my perspective on a situation. And I don't want to just I can't just brush it under the rug and move along like nothing happened. Because something happened. I would desire to know, but I've also come to terms with the fact that I might never know. And that's okay, if that's the way that it is, you know? So, that's it. If you made it to the end of this video, man, I don't even know. I hope that you took something from it. Because again, the reason that I put it up part of the reason was because I just thought, like, I don't know, maybe somebody else might go through something like this, and that maybe they could gain some insight and understanding of a situation and come to terms with a situation that sucked and turn it around into a positive, because that's how I've been able to transmute my traumatic experiences is to turn them into something positive for others and for myself, and not just look at them for the negative that they were, but also look at them for the positive that they are. You know, you got to identify the paradox or the duality within these situations to integrate that part back into our soul. So with that being said, I guess Ace is going to sign off. A lot of people are like, why is he calling himself that? You'll see. I love you guys very much, man. Peace and love. I pray and expect you have a wonderful day. #GMR.